Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for another episode of Keck's Hillbilly Think Tank. I am Spencer Keck. I live in Hardin County, Kentucky, and I am here tonight with some good news, I hope. I'm still not so sure how I feel about it altogether, but do know that the word is the government shutdown is ending, and there is a 60-40 vote to fund the government till January. Now, again, this isn't a complete victory at all to me because it's only a stopgap measure. And in January, I'm sure we're going to be right back at it again. Um, and also, we did not get the guarantee that we really were fighting for, which was the guarantee that the Affordable Care Act will be funded and that Americans will not lose their health care plan due to lack of this subsidy, which benefits working Americans all around our nation. We also know that in addition to not funding the Affordable Care Act, we also are looking at that big bad bill, that ugly bill. Before this shutdown even occurred, October 1st was going to be when SNAP benefits we're going to see a drastic decrease anyway, but due to that bill, it cut SNAP benefits even lower than they already were. And 140 bucks a month already wasn't enough for the average family that receives it, the average working family that receives it, to do hardly anything to pay their family to eat. There's nothing worse than being a kid starving. I don't care what anyone else wants to tell me, how they want to act like this is, you know, good for people. It's not. You know, you're working a minimum wage job and raising a family, even more than minimum wage job, as we noted the other day when William Compton and I were talking. The amount that it takes for you just to be reach the lower level of the middle class, it takes quite a bit of money. If you got a family of four, family of six. So quite a few people are eligible for SNAP that make more money than you'd expect. So it's not anything we should look down on 1 in 8 Americans for needing. And yet, apparently we do, because in that big, ugly bill, a major cut was made to SNAP that went into effect October 1st. Of course, didn't fund the government on October 1st. That's why we had the shutdown, longest shutdown in United States history. So time's going to tell. Are we going to wake up and see that we are our neighbor's keeper in this country? I was thinking tonight as I was listening to one of my favorite old songs by Hank Williams Jr., Country Boy Can't Survive. And I used to love that song ever since I was a kid. Still enjoy it. But in there, he talks about how we can, grow our own tomatoes, run a trot line, skin a buck, all these old hillbilly skills that we're really losing in this nation. I was fortunate to go out this weekend and get some venison. But really, when I lived in Montana, I learned that during the last Great Depression, the 1930s, ones my papa and mama survived, we killed almost every single elk, antelope, rabbit, decimated ducks, almost made them extinct, almost made antelope, elk, deer extinct. You know, when I grew up, I was born in 71, all the way through the 70s, 80s. Not until the 90s did I start seeing deer on my papaw's 80 acres in Kentucky. And this is wild country that I used to hike from the time I was 3 years old. I was hiking those 80 acres. Um, and, it wasn't until the 90s you started seeing enough deer to actually see roadkill once in a while. Now it's commonplace, but it was the fact that we did not have a well regulated um, system for wildlife management, and we almost wiped them out. People were so desperate that they were killing every single animal they could to send it back east and to the big cities for rich folks to eat wild game. You know, so it wasn't just folks killing animals to eat for their own survival, but they're overkilling animals to send to rich folks to eat during the Depression, just so desperate folks could make some money. We don't need to go back to that, guys. I mean, I really appreciate the sentiment that a country folk can survive. As a hillbilly, I believe it. But also know we don't ever want to get to this point again to where we push people to such desperation that we kill almost all the wildlife there is. I love going out in nature, communing with nature, both as a hunter and as someone who goes on hikes frequently. Love Kentucky for a great hunting and hiking paradise that it is. And I just don't want to see it destroyed. So I really look forward to when you elect me magistrate, working with our conservation group here in our county and making sure that our natural resources of water and pure soil, pure water are preserved, and preserved not just for my sake and my health, but for the future of my kids, my grandkids. I want them to have the same beautiful, pure Kentucky that we've come to know and appreciate, but also know what it's like to live now 53 years. And it wasn't until the last 25, 30 years that we've really been able to come back to have the robust deer population that existed before the Great Depression of the 30s when we almost wiped them out. Like I said, I used to hike those hills and hollers and mountains as a youngster. Never once did I see a deer. Now, yeah, I'll see them. I'll see turkey. I'll see rabbits. But I remember asking my papa when I was a little kid, take me rabbit hunting. And we went over and over and over those 80 acres. Couldn't find one single rabbit in the 70s. you know and that's again just back to, it takes a long time when you do decimate wildlife due to the desperate times that the Depression gave us. Just people don't realize how desperate it was. We forget so easy. Let's don't do that, people. Let's don't drive our own human neighbors to such desperation that we almost wipe out wildlife that could sustain us. You know, but no, that desperation caused us to go beyond just consumption, but overkilling in order to get money. We don't need that. But right now, we've got folks that don't care about the poor. They don't care about the consequences not caring about the poor has for our whole earth, our whole world, our whole society. You know, so let's love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Remember, we're all in this together. We only have one environment. We want to pass down a great environment with worthy streams to hunt and fish near and around. Okay. I want to drink good, pure water from those streams. I want my kids to, my grandkids to. I want to bring fish out of the water that don't have diseases in them, they don't have lead poisoning in them, don't have coal tar ash poisoning in them. So I can eat that fish and know I'm not going to be poisoning myself. I can kill a deer and know that it hasn't been poisoned from chemicals such as DuPont's forever chemicals. You know, so let's just take care of our great Kentucky. We can do it together. We can take care of our neighbors together. Make sure that they're not driven to such desperation by not having SNAP that something would happen like happened in the Great Depression. We don't want to put ourselves there just for the sake of tax breaks for the rich folks. Love you, Kentucky. And let's bless one another. Bless your corazon. Have a great night and a great day.